Hey guys, so I debated even making this, but I decided that with the election going on and everything, we could all use a good distraction. So I am going to show you today how to make my Texas style chili. It's pretty good. It's pretty damn good. I don't use any kits. I don't use any pre-made mixes. I don't use ground beef. I don't use any of that crap. So it's a good hearty chili, and it can get you through the winter. And I think if you watch this video and try it, I think you're gonna really like it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started here, and I'll show you the first step in the next clip. Okay, so first, this is the most tedious part of the entire process, and that is we're gonna slice up this guy below. So I don't use ground beef. I think the texture of ground beef and chili is disgusting. So what I'm gonna do is I bought a chuck roast, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna dice this up into cubes. Now this is pretty tedious, but I really think it's worth it. I really do. It makes the texture 100 million times better. So I'm gonna dice this up and we'll get back. All right, so I went ahead and I trimmed that roast down into bits. So these are just little, pieces like this. So I trimmed out a lot of the fat. So there's still some fat in it, which, I mean, that's good. A lot of the flavor is gonna come from the fat. So that's gonna be good. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna hit these guys with some salt, because what I want to do really is I want to dry them out. So I want all that moisture out of these so that I can get a good sear on them before I start to actually make my chili, so that I can get that meat browned. And you can't really get a good sear if there's a lot of moisture in this. So I'm gonna go ahead and just pat these down real quick. Hit them with a little salt before. Then after the pat, just hit them with a little bit more salt. So just a little more salt. And there we go. So these are gonna sit on there. I'm gonna set these aside for now. They're gonna sit on there for about 10 minutes. And then, so the next step is I've got 4 different types of chilies. So these chilies you can get at the grocery store. They're usually with all the spices and the seasonings. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these chilies and I'm gonna make them into a chili paste. So I also have a couple peppers, I'll show you in a minute. But what I'm gonna do now, I need about 12 of these chilies total, just a mix of the 3 of them. So I'm gonna take these and I'm gonna cut out the seeds and the stems, and then I'm gonna throw them into a pan with some water over them, so I can start to make a chili paste, which is going to be phenomenal. A lot of flavor in there. So let's go ahead and do that, and I'll see you. Okay, so I went ahead and I sliced up these chilies. So I sliced up about 10 of them, something like that. It's not exact science, I mean, it's not kind of just like, okay, this plus this plus this plus this plus this. It's kind of just, just feeling it out. So I added some chilies here. I added a habanero part of it in there. And I added a jalapeno and half a poblano pepper. So this is going to have some kick to it. I don't think it'll be terrible by the time we get to the end. But yeah, so what I do now with this, I'm going to put this I'm going to put some water over this. And I'm going to let this simmer for about 10 minutes. And then we'll keep going. So, all right, let me get this on the boiler. See ya. Okay, so that's coming out real nicely. I'm going to bring that up to a simmer. If some seeds get in there, so be it. That's cool. My beef is here. It's drying out nice with that salt that I added. So we'll see. Maybe another 5-10 minutes on the beef too. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna go ahead and dice up some onions. So I got 3 onions here. Got a red onion, that'll give it a little bit of bite. I got a sweet onion, which will give it a nice sweet flavor. I got a shallot, which will just sort of add that nice little kick to it. So I'm going to go ahead and add those. So, okay, I'm going to cut these up and I'm going to add them to a bowl, and then we'll keep going. Okay, so I went ahead and simmered those peppers for 10 minutes. So now I've added them plus the simmering water to my blender here. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to give it So now, got some suction here. That's my chili paste. Woo! And it is piping hot. So that's my chili paste. So we're gonna set that aside for a little bit, and we're gonna keep chopping up our onions. So here we go. Okay, guys. So we are ready to start assembling. So I've got all my things here that I need. I need chicken broth. I have beans. I have diced tomatoes, I have tomato paste, I have my onions from before, I have 2 things of beef broth and chicken broth, I have garlic, it's about 6 cloves, and my beef is passing the paper towel test where the paper towel is not soaked if I'm touching it. So we'll lift up this beef. This beef has salt on it, so we're just going to go ahead and add some pepper here. So I'm just going to give that a nice healthy shake of pepper just to season it up. Okay, so there we go. So the beef should be pretty well seasoned now. And now I'm going to take some olive oil, add that to the pan that I'm going to cook it in, and then I'm going to brown half this beef. Not all of it, just half, just enough to introduce some flavor to this pot with my oil in it. So then, okay, so let me get this. So now I got my onions and garlic cooking. I've removed the half the beef from the pan, so I'll put the other half back in later. So now what's happening is I'm cooking down these onions and garlic in this pan to sort of just give them some color, sweat them up a bit, and then we'll start adding everything else. This is just going to give a nice airy texture to it. It's going to kind of add some, it smells fucking incredible in here. So I'm just going to keep cooking up these onions and garlic, and then I'll re-add my beef, and then I'll add these guys and my seasonings up here. So, all right, I'll see you guys in a minute. Okay, guys, love the color on this. Absolutely love the color on this. So I'm going to add my beef back in, and then I'm going to add my broths. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that, and I'll see you. Okay, so I added all my beef in there. Browning your beef is a myth perpetrated by mainstream media. You don't need to brown your beef. Let your beef fucking cook in the pan. So now I'm going to go ahead and add my stock. So I got some chicken stock here. Just going to add probably half of it. Again, it's not an exact science, you know? I'm just kind of, I like my ingredients. I'm just kind of eyeballing. So now I have some low sodium beef broth. So that'll be good in there. Then I have a little more low sodium beef broth. Now I'm just kind of filling this out with it. And it's not an exact science. So there we go. So now I've got my broths in there. So now I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of these guys. I'm going to add this cup of beans. And I've already drained these. These are just red kidney beans. Beautiful. I'm going to add my diced tomatoes. Oh yeah. And I'm going to add my tomato paste. So I can't do it on camera. I'll do it off camera because I need 2 hands. And I'm going to add some of my chili paste from before. So just going to pour that in. It's pretty thick, so it might splash. Going to add that in there. That's going to make it pretty spicy. So now I'll add. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and add. These are beans from yesterday. I like to put them in the fridge, let them kind of harden up a little. So these are chili beans. Pretty spicy. I like to keep the sauce in there. So I'm going to go ahead and add those. I like the sauce in these because it allows them to add some heat. So, okay, so now I'm going to add my tomato paste and I'm going to add my seasoning. So give me a second to stir all this up. Okay, so everything is incorporated into there now. So I'm just gonna add these seasonings. So I'm gonna add a little bit of allspice, a lot of oregano, a decent amount of chili powder for heat, a little bit of ground cinnamon to add in some heat, a little onion powder, a little coriander, that's very important, that's a great seasoning, and then a little granulated garlic. So once I add these seasonings in, then I'm just gonna let it cook. So let me add these seasonings, probably, I don't know, again, it's not exact, probably half teaspoon to a teaspoon of each, maybe a little more. So all my seasonings are added. So this bad boy is gonna go low and slow for about 5 hours. So as Kevin Malone would say, everybody gets to know each other in the pot. So I gotta get back to work and I gotta clean up this fucking mess because my girlfriend will kill me if it's like this. So I will see you guys in about 5 hours. We're just checking in here after about an hour or so. So you can see here, you can see that's where the liquid started and that's where it's reduced down to. So a lot of that stock is cooking out, which is great because we got all the flavor. But I don't like all the liquid because it makes it runny. I like my chili thick, so probably gonna let this cook another hour or so, low and slow, let it go. So check in about another hour. We'll see if this chili's thickened up at all. There's still a couple more steps for it to be finished, and I got a nice little trick to thicken it up. This has reduced down a lot, so what I'm gonna do now for the final stage, I'm gonna add the juice. Come on. Sorry, this is hard to do on the camera. Okay. I'm adding the juice of 1 lime here. Now what that'll do is that acidity will kind of cut through the richness. It'll add a lot of good citrus flavors. So now that I've done that, I've got one more step to make this thing good. So I'm gonna mix that in, and I'll show you my last juice is mixed in. So now I'm gonna add my last ingredient, which is masa harina. So what this is, if you don't know, this is a Mexican corn flour used to make tortillas. So I'm gonna add about 3 tablespoons of my masa harina. And what this will do is this will really thicken the chili up and it'll give it a nice richness. So I'm gonna add that in there and I'm gonna mix that up. And I'm gonna let it cook on high heat for about 5 more minutes. Don't worry, it won't look gross like this. And then it'll be ready. So I'll see you guys in a few minutes. Hey guys, I like serving this up with some oyster crackers and some white cheddar. So there we go. It's pretty thick. It's got a good thickness to it. It's nice and thick. It's got some good taste. It's got some good kick to it. So yeah, pretty good bag. Hey guys, so that chili came out pretty good. You know, it had some kick to it. It had a lot of really good flavors. It had those beef bits. They just give it a great texture. So I think that's a pretty good recipe. You know, I mean.
Are you doing your own review of the chili?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Anyway,
Not biased or anything.
Anyway, so I think it turns out pretty well. If you end up making it, let me know. And yeah, I wanted to share this because, you know, I was cooking it anyway, and I know we could all use a nice little distraction during these times, these uncertain times. So yeah, if you like the video, let me know. If you try it, let me know. So thanks. All right, thanks for watching if you stuck around.